One of the main reasons black men date and marry white women is to get next to her father, to replace the father he never had or who abandoned him. And this is why black men can never explain why they date and marry white women. And that is why he's so easily enmeshed in her community, her culture, her identity. Black men need white men to guide them on every economic level. And this is why black men can never be trusted to be leaders.
Look who's home.
Is that my future son-in-law?
Is that Bob?
Yes, it is.
Are you off of work?
I am off of work.
It's a parade inside my city, yeah.
It's a parade inside my city.
Hey, do you want a beer?
I'm ready for all this.
Let's get it.
Bruh.
Hi to you too, Dad.
It doesn't matter what the age, social background, or income level. Black men move through society with the psychological mentality of a child. Jay-Z is 51 years old and a billionaire. Meek Mill is 34 and a multi-millionaire. Meek Mill had an idea to start an organization to change the probation system. So he brought in Jay-Z to help him in this fight to reform criminal justice. Now you would think these two grown men would stand at the top of the organization as the bosses and decision makers, then put the right people in place below them to help carry out their mission. And because it involved the criminal legal system, you would think they would hire attorneys who can write the policies where they want to see changes and present legal arguments to the legislatures, because that's what attorneys do. In addition, black attorneys would have a vested interest in helping in this area because they may have family members, friends, or they probably know somebody caught up in the system due to the injustices of the probation. But that's not what they did.
Since being released from prison last year, Meek has been on a crusade for criminal justice reform. And he's got a heavy-duty ally in his corner, Jay-Z.
The idol of mine, I always looked up to him my whole career coming up, and having someone like that in your corner, someone strong, someone actually knowing the obstacles and different hurdles it takes to get to this point, because we come from the same type of environment, to back me is very important. And he's a part of this documentary today. Our Reform Foundation is specifically tackling probation and parole, because you know that's a big part of the system. Like we have a lot of people in America in and out of prison on probation and parole. Even me, myself, when I was locked up, from my personal experience, the state penitentiary was filled with killers, people who raped, and technical violators.
The first thing Jay-Z and Meek Mill did was to voluntarily put themselves under the authority of white men who will, like they always do, turn black people's plight into a profit for themselves. Jay-Z brought in 6 white billionaire owners of sports teams. And how this makes sense is beyond comprehension. What makes an owner of a sports team qualified to lead a fight in the legal system? But for Jay-Z and Meek Mill, it doesn't have to make sense, as long as they're white men. In addition to bringing in these white billionaires, they also staff the organization with mostly multi-millionaire white people who probably have more interest in how they can turn this endeavor into profit for themselves. What's very telling about this story is these black men didn't have confidence in themselves to succeed without being guided by white men. And I read over some of the laws that were changed, and the changes were very minimal, where it gives judges more discretion or leeway to do the right thing. But these are the same judges who sentence black people 3 times as long as white people who commit the same crimes. It's not mandatory for these judges to follow the new changes. It's basically asking them to treat black people more humanely. But because Jay-Z and Meek Mill probably put all their trust into these white men, they're simply going with what they're being told, as if these minor changes will make a major impact on the probation system. So while black people have so many problems in the community, the Jay-Z and Meek Mill can help with, and that are actually caused by the dominant society led by white men. This is what's important to them: to give this billionaire, Robert Kraft, a $300,000 Bentley, who they now look up to as a father figure.
What are you kidding? We knew you wouldn't get it yourself. You know, you went all in for this house, so we thought it was going to be tough for you. So we thought we were getting you the car that you were looking at.
On the left is billionaire Michael Rubin, who owns Fanatics.
Oh God, look at that.
That's exactly what. Oh, man.
On the right, billionaire Patriots chairman Robert Kraft.
This came from Meek and Jay and Will.
A name that is mentioned for aiding other billionaires' efforts in securing a Bentley for Bob Kraft.
So as wealthy black men seek the love and acceptance of a father through their relationships with successful white men, it's the same mentality as black men who marry white women. These men want you to believe that they marry white women because they're more beautiful or feminine. The real reason they marry these white women is to get next to her father and her family. This is why black men will never fight for their freedom, because that would mean going against their new family of white people. Broken black men seek father figures in successful white men because this is something missing from their lives. And this is another side effect of black men abandoning their children. The reason black women don't seek the same validation of white people is because black women don't abandon their children, and their daughters grow up with a strong identity and confidence until she reaches puberty and comes in contact with a weak black male. That's when her confidence begins to wane. They say mice are the first to jump from a sinking ship, and black men are already gone. So as black women continue to do our part in keeping the ship afloat, once it's leveled off and sailing again, because I do believe it will happen, but under the leadership of black women, not black men, you have to ask yourself, are you ready and willing to allow the mice to drown in order to save yourselves and your children?